One, two. Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that was just overwhelming. Shall we try again? Good evening. Right, welcome aboard the Millennium Dawn. That's the name of the boat that you are travelling on, and that's for our trip inward bound to Westminster for Big Ben and the London Eye. Now, as we leave the pier, we do have to give a safety announcement. Okay, this is nothing to alarm you. It's just a requirement by law. And that's to tell you the vessel it is fully equipped with life-saving apparatus for a full complement of passengers. It does come in the form of life rafts, life rings and life jackets. Those are situated around the vessel and they are marked in the international green and cream stickers. In the unlikely event of an emergency, we just ask that you remain seated, you remain calm, and let the crew off first. Just making sure you're listening. Now, in the unlikely event of an emergency, just remain seated, remain calm, and listen to instructions given by a uniformed member of crew. Now, on our way to Westminster, folks, we do pass a few points and places of interest. Now, the company do provide an audio guide, okay? You can obtain this by scanning the QR codes on the back of the leaflets that you should have been given when you boarded the boat. If not, the company would like you to connect your device to the Wi-Fi, download the company app, City Experiences, from your app store. Then you choose your selected language and you listen to the company provided audio guide via your device. Now, the problem with that is the internet's not very good on this part of the trip, okay? So it will probably take half the trip to download the app, and by the time the GPS kicks in, you would have already gotten off the boat, all right? But that's what they supply you with. Now, we do get a lot better feedback when we do a live commentary, okay? Is that something you would like me to do along the way, a live commentary, a show of hands? I will try to match your enthusiasm, okay? Okay, I will try to point out a few things along the way. Now, you will find out very quickly, we are not guides or commentators, we are just a crew. So please bear with me, okay? We also know not everybody has English as a first language, so I will try to speak slowly and clearly. And then hopefully the Americans can understand. All joking aside, is everyone happy with that? Okay, well, we'll start with the building to your left. That's the Tower of London. Now, it started to be built in 1078, and that was in the reign of William the Conqueror. The four turrets in the middle, that's the oldest part. It's called the Norman's Keep, or the White Tower. In its time, it has been various things: a royal mint, a royal observatory, it's been a royal palace, a prison, even a zoo, but more commonly known as a place of imprisonment, torture and execution. It is now home to the crown jewels. These are guarded by the king's beefeaters, or buffeteers, a French word, roughly translating to mean servant to the crown. Now, the bridge ahead of us is Tower Bridge. It's the gateway to London. Opened on the 30th of June 1894. Designed by Sir John Wolfe Barry, and it was built in the Gothic style to blend in with its surroundings, the Tower of London. Tower Bridge is the only bridge of its kind, being a twin steel suspension and bascule bridge. The bascules, which are those centre parts that do form the roadway, these can be raised like a double-sided drawbridge to let larger ships in and out of the upper pool of London. They have raised on numerous occasions, and the record opening is 54 times in one day. On average, the bridge would raise 35 times a day. That's how busy it was here with river traffic. To open the bridge, it's free. They don't charge. They just require two things: proof that your vessel won't fit through the bridge on its arrival, and you give 24 hours notice. And that's so they can let emergency services know to avoid the bridge in the event of an emergency call. The bridge is also available to open for 364 days of the year. Only one day this bridge does not open, and that is on the day of the London Marathon. And that's because it marks the halfway point for 47,000 people. Although for a bit more entertainment, I think they should leave a 6-foot gap. Might make the marathon a bit more watchable. Now, would anyone like to see the bridge open up? Yes? Have you got your phones? Yep, go to YouTube. Alright, there's loads of videos on there. Unfortunately, the next opening is not until Saturday. Saturday evening at 17:45 will be the next scheduled bridge lift. And there you go, folks, a nice side-on view of Tower Bridge. It's the only bridge to be insured with Lloyd's of London as a ship and not a bridge. Because it's got those moving parts over water, it has to have its own captain, engineer and mate present. And you've got the double-decker bus there. Try to get that when it's right in the middle of the bridge, folks. And then you've got 3 iconic views there in one picture. You've got Tower Bridge, the red double-decker bus and London traffic. Now, when the bridge was being raised, the public would still cross the bridge. That's the whole purpose of the bridge's design. So they would walk up through those concrete towers, along the catwalks at the top, then down the other side. But due to the high suicide rate, they had to close down in 1910, and they remained closed until the early 80s, where eventually they reopened as a tourist attraction. Now, to the left ahead of us, we have the HMS Belfast, built in Belfast in 1938, launched in 1939. Now, she saw action throughout the Second World War. She was involved in chasing, shelling and sinking of the German ship, the Scharnhorst. She weighs 11,500 tons, her main armament being 12 6-inch guns. Each one is capable of firing a 100-weight shell 14 miles. She fired the opening shots on D-Day, June the 6th, 1944, and she last fired those guns in anger back in 1952. And this is where she was a flagship for the United Nations in the Korean War campaign. Now today she's permanently moored on the river as a floating extension for the Imperial War Museum. The tall glass building to our left, that's the Shard at London Bridge. It's the tallest building in the country and it only stands 1,000 feet tall. There are 82 floors in the Shard, and it's offices, shops, bars, restaurants. It's got a 5-star hotel. There's a viewing platform on the 72nd floor, and then the rest of it is made up of luxury apartments. Now, the cheapest apartment is up for sale for 30 million. Very expensive. To the right, you'll see the yellow brick building with the black rounded roof and the 2 fish gold weather vanes. This is the old Billingsgate Fish Market, very famous for its fresh fish and the Cockney Porters for their foul language. And that's exactly what you would have got if you had come here early on a Sunday morning. Very fresh fish and some very foul language. In fact, if you look up the word Billingsgate, It means a foul-mouthed person. Now, the first bridge we're going to pass beneath, everybody knows this bridge. It's the world-famous London Bridge. Now, several bridges have spanned the Thames at this point. The first ever London Bridge was built by the Romans in 43 AD. Now, the most famous London Bridge is the one that fell down, and it gave rise to the nursery rhyme, London Bridge is falling down. Now, the previous one to this, it was sinking into the mud, and in 1968 it was bought by a Robert McCulloch for £1 million. The bridge was taken down, shipped out to America, then it was rebuilt over the Colorado River in Lake Havasu as a tourist attraction. Through the bridge and to the left you'll see the back end of a pirate ship. That's a replica of Sir Francis Drake's ship, the Golden Hind. It was built in 1971 in Appledore in North Devon. It's an exact replica. It even took the same course that Sir Francis Drake took when he became the first Englishman to circumnavigate the globe. He done it in just under 3 years. He did it the wrong way round, and he robbed the Spanish of all their gold along the way. The next bridge ahead of us is Cannon Street Railway Bridge. Underneath the bridge to the right, you'll see the little glass box. And if you're lucky, you'll see some semi-naked people, because this is a health and relaxation spa. Cleverly, what they did, they put in one-way glass. Stupidly, they've put it in the wrong way round. Some days are better than others, I must admit. Now, through the bridge and to the left, in the corner, is a very famous Thameside pub. It's called the Anchor at Bankside. That little pub, it was built in 1615, so it's over 400 years old. To use that pub, Samuel Pepys, the diarist, Dr. Johnson, William Shakespeare, and me. It is a very, very nice pub, folks. It is highly recommended. Now, once we come through Southwark Bridge, to the left, you'll see the white circular building with wooden beams and a thatched roof. Sam Wanamaker's replica of William Shakespeare's Globe Playhouse Theatre. It was his dream to produce a replica, and this took 20 years to get the project underway. Now, sadly, he never saw the building complete. It was eventually completed by his daughter, the actress Zoe Wanamaker. It opened in 1997, and it is used in the traditional way, just as it would have been during the days of Shakespeare himself. So there's no lighting, there's no amplification, there's no sound effects, and if it rains, you can get wet, because it's an open-aired theatre, just like the original. Also to the left, the brown brick building with the tall chimney, that's the old Bankside power station. Today, this has been turned into the Tate Gallery for modern art, viewing modern art exhibitions. It's a free art gallery to enter, but when you see modern art, you'll know why that is free to enter. And to the right, the magnificent dome and cross of St. Paul's Cathedral, designed by the famous architect Sir Christopher Wren. It took 35 years to build St. Paul's. 12 years of construction was the dome itself. That dome is the second largest unsupported cathedral dome, the largest being on St. Peter's in Rome. Now, St. Paul's, it stands 365 feet tall. The foundations are 3 feet deep, and buried in the crypt are some of the country's most famous national heroes. Now, if you haven't been in St. Paul's, I do recommend doing it, folks. It's £25. You can go visit the crypt, of Admiral Lord Nelson, the Iron Duke, the Duke of Wellington, and the architect himself, Sir Christopher Wren. And then, if you're feeling very energetic, because there are no lifts or escalators, you can then climb the 528 steps to that viewing platform that's on top of the dome, where you do get views that are just as good as the London Eye. Now we're just waiting for this tuck to get clear of the bridge, and then we'll be able to proceed through the bridge. Now, the tuck that you can see that's coming past, you might get a bit of a funny smell from this tug, okay? This is carrying London's household waste. This is how we get rid of our rubbish here in London. Each one of those yellow containers is the equivalent of one lorry off the road. Now, one barge so they're double stacked. So that one barge is carrying 32 containers. The other one's got 32, so that's 64. That's nearly 100 lorries off the road, all taken out by barge. And we have 5 of these every day on every tide, taking London's household waste. It's then taken down to a place called Belvedere, where it's then incinerated, recycled, and then goes back into making tarmac for the roads. Now we're going to pass through Blackfriars Bridge, and these are the lowest bridges we have to pass on our trip. You're going to see some red columns on either side of the boat. These are what remain of the first ever railway bridge to span the Thames, the St Paul's Railway Bridge. Designed by Isambard Kingdom Brunel, the bridge became unsafe due to the weight of modern day trains. They took the top half down in 1984, but they cannot remove the supports on fear of undermining the foundations of the other 2 bridges. To the right, the white building with the green sloping roof, that's the old City of London School for Boys. A very famous school where many of our elder statesmen have been educated. In between the 5 arch windows, right at the top, there are 4 statues, and they are Francis Bacon, John Milton, Sir Isaac Newton, and William Shakespeare, and that is 4 of the country's most famous scholars. No longer used as a school today, it's home to J.P. Morgan, the wealthy American bank. Now, coming up ahead of us on the right, we have a stone archway. This is Temple Arch, and it's a boundary line between 2 cities. It denotes we will shortly be entering the city of Westminster, and we are just about to leave the City of London. The City of London, it's one of the smallest capital cities in the world. It only measures 1 square mile. Now, when we talk about London today, in general, you are talking about Greater London, and that's made up of 2 cities and 32 boroughs. Okay, but originally, Londinium, that's what the Romans called it, is just 1 square mile. Look to the arch itself, you'll see the face of Old Father Thames engraved into the stonework. When you see that, that means that the river used to flow through that point. Now, if you've ever seen old paintings of the River Thames, in the painting, the river probably looked a lot wider, okay? And that's because it was a lot wider. The River Thames used to be up to 3 times wider than what we see today. Now, because it was a lot wider, it wasn't as deep, it didn't as flow as fast, and in the winter months, it was a lot colder back then, and it would manage to freeze over. And that's normally an old painting that people have seen of a frozen River Thames. To give you an idea of how wide it was here, this white building to our right with the green dome, that's Somerset House, this was built in 1715 in the river itself. As we pass, look below the tree line but above the river's wall, and in the middle you're going to see the arch with the face of Old Father Thames in the middle. So that tells us the river went through that building. Now there's a road behind this building, and it runs from Blackfriars behind us, behind all these buildings, all the way up to Charing Cross. And that road is called Strand. Now, strand is an old Dutch word, and it means beach or shoreline. That's how far inland the river went to our right. If you keep looking to your right, the gap in between the first two buildings, look up the street. At the top of the street, there's a set of traffic lights. There we go. That's the Strand at the top there. Now look how much of the river we reclaimed. We narrowed it by a third. And that was to build our Victorian sewer system that all lies underneath this embankment to our right. To the left, Royal Festival Hall, the last remaining building from the Festival of Great Britain that was held here back in 1951. The acoustics are said to be some of the finest in the world. Now, to perform inside here, Jimi Hendrix was the first artist. You've had Liza Minnelli, Elton John, Shirley Bassey, Pavarotti, Michael Jackson, even old Blue Eyes himself, Frank Sinatra. They have all performed in that wonderful concert hall to our left. We're now approaching the Charing Cross Railway Bridge. It feeds the station to the right. Now, for those on the top deck, as we go under the bridge, if you do feel any water dripping on your heads, don't be alarmed, okay? The trains have to empty their toilets before they enter the station. Now to the left we have the large white construction, the London Eye, built for British Airways, and that was back in the year 2000. It stands 450 feet tall. It holds 800 people in 32 glass capsules. It will take 30 minutes for one round turn, and on a very clear day from the top you can see as far as Windsor Castle, which is about 25 miles away. Now the final place of interest is ahead of us, and to the right we have the Houses of Parliament. The official name for the building is the New Royal Palace at Westminster. It's home to the British government. Inside the building it contains the House of Lords and the House of Commons. But it is a royal palace. It's owned by the King. He lets Parliament sit here, and there has been a palace on that site for nearly 1,000 years. But what you see today, that's only 164 years old. Designed by Augustus Pugin and Charles Barry. It took 25 years to build. There's over 1,100 rooms inside this building. 34 of those rooms are drinking bars, where there's no licensing laws and they do not pay tax on their alcohol. Now the main feature of the building is of course the clock tower that everybody calls Big Ben. But as most of you are aware, Big Ben is just the bell that chimes on the hour and the hour only. It is a huge bell. It weighs 13.5 tons and the bell is slightly cracked. just like many of the people that work inside these buildings. And there we go, folks. There's our final stop, Westminster Pier, okay? If you could just please remain in your seats for me until we are safely moored alongside. You will be told when it is safe to leave. If you haven't understood me, just carry on doing what you're doing, all right? It's already got to that point in the day now, I don't care. You have been warned. As you leave the boat, please make sure you do take all your personal belongings. Hats, coats, bags, husbands, wives, other people's husbands and wives, your boyfriends, your girlfriends, and if you brought them with you, please take your children. All right? It is very alarming how many children get left. I have 6 indoors now, and they all speak different languages. Conversations are becoming very difficult. Now, lastly, folks, about a few words. As we said at the start, we're not guides or commentators. We are just a crew. We're here for your safety. We do this on a voluntary basis, hopefully to make your trip that little bit more interesting. You never know, maybe enjoyable, because if it was left up to the company, you would have just taken a mystery tour sitting in complete silence. But we do get better feedback when the commentaries are done live. But as they're done voluntary, that means there's no charge. We can't put an individual price on tickets when some people have not understood a single word that I have said. So what we do, we simply leave it up to you, a bit of an old tradition. By the exit, as you leave, will be the ship's silver champagne bucket. And that, folks, is our old tip bucket. If you'd like to stick a couple of bob in the old bucket, you are more than welcome. Of course, if you don't know what a couple of bob is, don't worry, we do take 5, 10, 20, £50 notes, all right? We do like a silent donation, but we also know not everybody carries cash. So I do accept contactless, Google Pay, Apple Pay, and all major credit cards. I do have a little device downstairs. Just see me by the gate if you wish to do so. Whatever we do collect doesn't go to waste, okay? Some people like to know what happens with the money. It does get reinvested, and that goes in towards the research for these commentaries. And that research will be carried out in the Anchor pub this evening, so I can find out a bit more about this pub and then pass the information on to you. It can be long, hard, and extensive research, but it is purely for your benefit. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself, and have a pleasant remainder to your evening here at Westminster. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Korea dah tutup lah. Korea rasa tu diganti dengan tu Shrek Adventure. Dulu situ lah Korea dengan London Dungeon. Dia dah tutup. Tutup pintu kecil tu. Itu Shrek Korea dulu. London Dungeon pintu kecil lagi ni. Wifi saya tak lepas sikit. Dah tutup lah. Tak boleh ikan semua dah. Lepas tumpah COVID semua